All right, what's going on, guys? Graham, Jason Matthews here with FanSided Daily DDT, ahead of the Wrestling Classic, October 24th, Hartford, Connecticut. It's coming to Hartford, Connecticut later this month. We're talking to the promoter himself, Nicholas Masci. Stacked lineup, star-studded. I'm looking forward to being there as a Connecticut native myself. Nick, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Graham. Looking forward to talking about what I'm calling the New England happening, the Wrestling Classic, October 24th.
This is massive, man, and it's such a great time for it. And I just got done talking to Dangerous Danny Davis about it. But there's so many conventions going on right now, so many cool things going on with the world slowly, opening up and whatnot. I feel like this is like the first major, unless I'm wrong, the first major convention coming to Connecticut since everything started opening back up again.
Oh, absolutely. So actually, this is the first major wrestling convention in Connecticut in over a decade. I know Just Incredible had Terry Funk and Scott Hall here, I want to say about 2009, 2010. Mm-hmm. And, there's been some great wrestling shows in the state. But in terms of wrestling-specific conventions, we don't get what New York gets. We don't get what Pennsylvania and New Jersey get. So my goal with the Wrestling Classic is to set something up, maybe as many at the very least annually, maybe even biannually, where we can get 30 to 40 stars right by the airport. So close to Hartford, so close to Springfield, Mass. It's not even far from Rhode Island. So I mean, it's the goal is to give New England, a convention to be proud of, a consistent convention, and we're bringing in some big names for our first show.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a who's who when you look at this roster, from Sergeant Slaughter, Booker T, the Mountie. As soon as I saw them, I mean, I was going to be going to this thing anyway. But as soon as I saw the Mountie on the bill, I'm like, I'm there. Because as a longtime fan myself, I have a quick story, a replica Intercontinental Championship. My lifelong goal is to get it signed by every former champion. At least, obviously, it's still around, of course.
Sure.
Him being one of them. And he doesn't do many signings. I haven't seen the Mountie do many signings, let alone in Connecticut of all places. So the people you've gotten for this thing is just stellar.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I'm a big Mountie fan myself. Love this time as the Mountie. One half of the fabulous Rougeau brothers, the Quebecers tag team, are actually one of my favorite growing up. You grew up as a fan of the good guy tag teams, and the Quebecers might have been my first favorite bad guy tag team. So Jacques Rougeau, so talented, and like you said, he doesn't make many appearances in general. I don't remember the last time he was in New England. So October 24th, if you're in the area, you want to come out and see the Mountie.
If it was just the Mountie, I would be there. But literally everyone, that's not even including Bob Backlund, Tito Santana, Dangerous Danny Davis. That's a tongue twister. Like I said, I mentioned him before. And even some current stars too. Alex Shelley never makes any Northeast appearances. I've been going to these type of events in the Northeast for years now. I've never seen Alex Shelley around here. Danhausen from Ring of Honor. Tonini's, fresh off of a WWE run. I mean, it really is cool how you've managed to get the past, present, and the future of wrestling all in one place. And even the MLW star Alexander Hammerstone just added earlier this week too.
Yeah, absolutely, and Selena De La Renta. So it's definitely like you were saying. You got your Hall of Famers, your Sergeant Slaughters, your Booker T's, your Bob Backlund, that huge stars, 70s, 80s, 90s that people know now. You've got your rare appearances. The Mountie, Adam Bomb. This is going to be Man Mountain Rock, Max Payne's first ever convention appearance.
Wow.
I'm excited about that. General Adnan, who doesn't make many appearances either in the States. He's living in Hawaii right now, so I should say doesn't make many appearances in the mainland. But then like you said, it's not just about the legends. It's about today's stars. And we've got a great group of today's stars. Danhausen, Alexander Hammerstone, oh my God, Selena De La Renta, it's Tony Nese. We're going to announce Chris Hero tomorrow.
Oh, let's go. That's awesome.
I know. Alex Shelley, like you brought up, was when I was big into Ring of Honor wrestling about 15, 16 years ago. I would go to all the shows in New York, New Jersey area. And Alex Shelley and Generation Next were such a big part of my ROH experience. Like you said, having him at my first convention is just really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Like you said, this is a who's who right here of who's going to be at this, the Wrestling Classic. This, like you said, the New England happening, so to speak, between all the stars of the past, present, and future all in one place. It's going to be crazy. You mentioned Chris Hero. Are there any more names to come? We're speaking on October 6th as it is right now. The convention's in 2.5 weeks, the Sunday of the 24th. Are there more names to be announced without giving away any spoilers, or is this the set-in-stone roster?
So thanks for asking, Graham. Yeah, we're announcing 3 more names tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll actually give you the scoop here.
Okay.
So the more of a combination of today's talent, and then also legends. So we've got Jay Lethal, who I believe held the ROH title at least twice.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, Jay Lethal will be with us. Another ROH standout, Flip Gordon, will be with us. And then also, we're going to announce former ECW heavyweight champion Justin Credible. So he's going to be our general admission plus. Now, we're almost completely sold out of those, but there's your standard general admission tickets, which are going to be $15. They might go up to $20 at the door, but they're $15 right now. And then there's a general admission plus, which we've limited to only 25 tickets. And I believe we have 3 or 4 left, but we're going to be announcing Justin Credible as the general admission plus. And what that means is instead of paying the $15 for your general admission ticket, you pay an extra $10, and that includes an autograph of the guest. And Justin will be $20 at the show, so, it's a great deal.
Yeah, that is a hell of a deal. No, it's awesome you guys do stuff like that. It really, obviously it's more of an incentive to get your ticket early and whatnot, which is awesome. Justin Credible's a Connecticut guy, is he not?
He is, absolutely. Yeah, like I was saying, he ran the last wrestling-specific convention in the state.
That's awesome. It's great that he's going to be there. You mentioned Chris Hero as well. Jay Lethal, anyone who watches wrestling right now is going to know who the former Ring of Honor World Champion is. So, that's a big name. Just in general, how are you securing such big names for this thing? Because when you hear like a wrestling convention coming to Connecticut, like you said, first of all, it doesn't happen often. The first one in almost a decade, like you said. I'm thinking it's going to be a couple of people, a few people here and there. I know there's a couple of comic book shops here in CT that do signings from often, from time to time. Even some of the promotions, I'm a big Northeast wrestling guy, and they'll get some big names from time to time. But this is like, I'm not even counting right now, but probably close to 24 people at least, more than that. How are you getting this type of talent? Booker T, WWE Hall of Famer, and all these other guys.
Well, so that's a great question. Now, I'm promoting this along my partner KNS WrestleFest. I've been in the memorabilia and autograph side of things for started in 2012, and then I took some time off, and then pretty much since 2015, I've been going full force. And from 2015 to 2019, I was doing probably about 15 to 20 weekends a year, and then now since the pandemic started, I've been full time pretty much every weekend since everything started opening up slowly last summer. So between that and, working all the different conventions, working all across the states, I've made a bunch of contacts, and not only with the wrestlers, but other fellow promoters and vendors. So when I start telling them about, we're going to do this big show, initially it was supposed to be last September in Connecticut. I believe it was September 17th or 18th, whatever that Saturday was. That was the original date for the Wrestling Classic. And we had some great names locked in. Sarge was one of our headliners then too. And obviously we were hoping that we were going to be able to pull it off, and there was no way to pull off, a few hundred people in a room last September. Thankfully, with everything going on in the world, we're going to be able to have it, like you said, in 2.5 short weeks. But I've made a ton of contacts to where when I started getting the word about it, I have a bunch of vendor friends that promote all along the Northeast, and even some connections in this state, like Blitzkrieg Pro Wrestling. They are my favorite. I consider them. I'm a big fan of NEW too. NEW promotes a lot. A few different states. And in New York and Connecticut, I consider Blitzkrieg Pro, Connecticut's #1 independent promotion, because they work mostly with, a lot of local Connecticut and Massachusetts talent. So they're bringing talent, and they're bringing in Fandango. They're having a show that night, actually. So for those that are coming to the Wrestling Classic, we'll be there from 10 to 3. But bell time at Blitzkrieg Pro, a town over in Enfield, is going to be 4 p.m. So it'll be a cool doubleheader for all the wrestling fans. And then I've worked, like I was saying, with a lot of different other promoters that are bringing in the additional talent, such as Tatanka, General Adnot, so on and so forth. To where I do have a lot of the headline guests in my name, but it takes more than one person to put on a convention. It's with the help of other partners, and I'm lucky to have a lot of great promoters, and I'm surrounded by.
Yeah, for sure. It's a group effort, and obviously it's come together really well and at the perfect time, too. And you mentioned Blitzkrieg Pro. I think I went to one of their shows. Maybe not, it was solely them. Maybe it was a joint effort with them and Big Time Wrestling. Is the show in Enfield, and is that the high school over there? Because I think I went to one of their shows a couple of years ago.
So I think Jack's show you're talking about, that was where Bret Hart was there, right?
Yep, and the Boogeyman and Orange Cassidy and all these other random people.
Yeah, Malaysia was there, the Lucha Brothers. Yep. I was at that show, too. I did a private signing with Bret Hart that day.
Wow.
And that was their anniversary show. So this show is gonna be in Enfield. I'm looking at it right now. It's a four Alden Avenue, so it's not going to be at that high school.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's going to be. They normally run shows in this specific arena. I'm at the loss for the name of it right now, but it is in Enfield, which is only 10 minutes from the DoubleTree Hotel, Windsor Locks. So it will be a good doubleheader to anyone that wants to take a full day of the foliage and everything being so beautiful in New England at this time of year.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Especially as we enter the fall season. It's like warm as we speak right now, too. It was like, 70 degrees a couple days ago or something. I mean, it's like 60 right now, like today, but, it's not as cold as it usually is, which is perfect. But, like you said, you get the autograph sessions in the morning with the meet and greets. People love that. And then the show right afterward. It's the perfect combination. And I'm glad you brought up the event from last year, too, because I was going to ask you about that. I always keep an eye out for, like, upcoming stuff here in Connecticut because there's not a ton. And like I was telling you before we went live here, I'm kind of in the perfect spot between New York and Mass where I can go to stuff in that area. But I'm always keeping an eye out for stuff beyond NEW as far as signings and stuff like that here in Connecticut. And I saw that was on the dock, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, everything's been canceled, but maybe by September things will be good enough to where this can kind of happen in one. I remember Lance Archer was on the bill, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the names, yeah. And he, because of some AEW commitments, he was not able to make it. We also had some other AEW talent scheduled in, penciled in, and actually even confirmed in some cases. Wow. And AEW had to pull some talent for this particular day. Going forward, I'd love to have Archer and, a lot of other AEW stars in the area, and that's in the area for the Wrestling Classic too, and that's the game plan to where we're going to be working, and even working with the NEW down the line. I've would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, it was perfect because that one got canceled, and I was like, oh man, because I'm thinking like. I remember exactly what we were talking about. I think it was September 19th. I'm a freak with dates. I don't know why I remember that, but I'm like, okay, this Saturday it's going to be sweet. Like, hopefully things are good enough by then, and everything gets canceled still. There
you go. The 19th. I think you're spot on. Here I am saying the 17th or 18th. It might have been the 19th. Thanks, Graham.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking forward to it. When I heard this got announced, obviously, I'm like, oh, let's go. So it's back up and running, which is fantastic. And it's so working with AEW, and obviously you mentioned almost getting their talent for last year's show and for this year's show. How have you noticed in working with like the major companies like a Ring of Honor or an AEW, and how easy, maybe not easy, but how much more, flexible is the right word in getting some of their talent for stuff like this as opposed to like a WWE, for example?
Well, typically working with other companies, and then all the wrestlers are, of course, independent contractors. It's easier than working with. Although the WWE wrestlers are claimed to be independent contractors, they can't. I don't necessarily believe that. And they need to get everything approved, by the right chain of command. So with AEW though. They're flexible, and a lot of their talent is able to work additional shows. The issue with them seems to be right now is that they are growing at such a rapid pace that they are adding shows with maybe not the most amount of time. But I know going forward, just like the Wrestling Classic is going to be growing, AEW is growing. So if they don't know everyone that's going to be on a show until maybe a few weeks out, they don't know all the shows they're running until maybe a month out, it comes with the territory. But they seem to be all aboard with their talent making outside appearances, which is a great way for fans to keep up with their television product, because not everyone is able to meet the wrestlers at the AEW meet and greets. So coming, we had a few. I'm not going to name who, but we had some great names lined up, AEW talent lined up for the Wrestling Classic, and it wasn't able to work out this time. But I'm hoping that if and when we run that next show, maybe in the spring, we're able to get commitments for some AEW TV talent, which would be fantastic.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, they seem pretty good about like the make good type thing. Like if they have to take a talent away, sometimes they'll give you someone else down the road or something like that. They seem to be pretty good about that type of stuff, which is cool. So we're coming up on October 24th. You mentioned the spring. Is there like a set month? Because you mentioned biannually that you want to hold the Wrestling Classic. October in like a May type of thing, or is it just kind of play it by ear type of thing?
So it's not. A date is definitely not locked in yet. But I would consider running the Classic again in April.
Okay.
I think April after WrestleMania is a very good time. Everyone will be going to Dallas for WrestleMania weekend, or maybe even just watching it, from their home. But I think right around April, that's when we don't have to worry about getting hit with, a New England snowstorm. Spring is really starting to get into a groove. So I would say at some point in April, and then ideally, if we could do every September or October, and then April, that would be the kind of schedule I would want.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, like an every 6 months type of thing. And it's great, like someone who's from the Northeast that is running that, and that being you, obviously, because you know the weather of the area. Because, I went to the big event one time in New York in like March, and I froze my ass off. And this is like early March, and it's still super cold around that time of year in early March. By April, it's a lot better. Weather's a lot better, so that's definitely perfect. But like I said, stacked roster for this one coming up on October 24th. When you mentioned establishing relationships and connections with certain people. When you want to get certain people, like, is there someone that you think to yourself, I want this person at my show? Like, is there not a bucket list, but like a dream list of people that you want at, this convention, future convention, stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. I've been fortunate in that at this point I probably worked with close to 500 different talents over the last specifically 6 or 7 years. And a lot of them have been checked off, but there's still names that I would love to work with. I would love to work with Kevin Nash. I've done anything with Kevin Nash. I would love to work with Shawn Michaels. I would love to work with even I'm a big old school wrestling fan, so someone like Kevin Von Erich, from the legendary Von Erich family, I would love to do something with him. If I could do something with him and his sons Marshall and Ross, who are being featured in MLW TV right now, that'd be huge. Even incorporate Lacey Von Erich in there, full family reunion. So those are the old school names. As for younger talent, some guys in AEW right now that I would love to work with. I was actually I've been friends with Ortiz from Power and Powerful for about we grew up together. So he's a couple of years younger than me, but so it was so great watching him have all the success, and I had the privilege of having him at his first ever wrestling convention signing. I think it was either 3 or 4 years ago at the big event in Queens, the event you were just talking about. Might have even been the same one. Who knows? Because it's always so cold. But bringing someone like Ortiz, bringing someone like MJF, Jericho, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, having a chance to bring those guys to Connecticut in the convention setting. I'd love to be able to do it down the line, because I want the Wrestling Classic to be the perfect blend of, the legends of yesterday meet the stars of today, to where, you're able to, because there are some fans that, maybe they aren't too familiar with the older talent, but if they come because they see, Dan Housen's there, because, eventually someone like a Sammy Guevara's there, and they wind up learning about maybe some other legends, then, it's a good day for all. And I think it goes the other way, where there's a lot of old school fans that, maybe aren't as interested in today's, wrestling as they were 15, 20 years ago. So if they come to the event and they have a great experience with the Chris Hero or a Dan Housen, maybe they'll start watching more. So I think I really want this to be a good place. And the night before, I'm actually doing I run the Captain's Corner happy hour. It's a virtual signing that we do at least one a week. I've got a bunch this week coming up with Bob Backlund, Mark Kerr, and Ken Shamrock. But the night before the Wrestling Classic at the Doubletree, I'm actually doing my first happy hour lives with the Mountie and Savio Vega.
Oh, nice.
And so it's really informal signing where, I sit next to the talent and, we answer questions, we get some stuff signed. And over the last year, people have told me that, it's so entertaining that they want to know if I would have any interest in taking the show on the road. So I'm like, you know what, we're going to do it the night before the Wrestling Classic. And, we're moving tickets for that, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm looking to have additional events like that, maybe like a karaoke with someone, maybe like dinner with the wrestlers. I really want the Wrestling Classic to not just be about the convention. I want it to be about the overall experience, where the night before you get in early and you're able to grab a drink with so and so, or have a meal with so and so, and having the first show is the first step to that. And then, down the line, I'll be able to, add events and kind of customize events based on what everyone's looking for.
Yeah, that is the ultimate experience. Make it like a WrestleMania weekend type of experience with like the Q&As and the meet and greets and the different shows, you know.
Exactly.
And there's a great first step in that direction. And you mentioned it right there. I mean, obviously you're a businessman, Nick, but you talk about sitting next to these people, sitting next to these talents and answering questions. For you as a fan, how cool has that got to be?
Well, it's so funny because, if you had ever told me that at any point, I randomly get calls from people like, Marty Jannetty or Tatanka.
That's great.
And, it's 7-year-old me would be flipping out. But I'm fortunate in that over the last few years, I've been able to, work on business relationships with a lot of different talent that I grew up watching. And, in most cases, I was a fan of the wrestler, and now I'm a fan of the person. So when you can do business and work together with people that enjoy what you're doing and have the same goal, it's always good. And most of the guys I've worked with, they're just as appreciative of signing the autograph to and for that fan as the fan is of being able to have watch them for years. Mm-hmm. So just being almost the middleman of that moment, where someone sends me an item, maybe they need Bob Backlund on this one item, and they've got 20 or 25 other names on the item, and they're able to complete the item by getting Bob Backlund on. Or they've always wanted a personalized 8x10 from Ken Shamrock, and I'm able to kind of help fill in those gaps and create those moments. It's really cool for me too, just because I've seen when I know what it's like to meet your favorite wrestlers. So to know that I'm in some way, kind of the middleman to, sometimes establishing those moments and, giving people those items they want done. It's really cool for me too. So it's rewarding for everyone, for, the fans that are meeting the wrestlers who sometimes don't even realize how many people they've touched. Mm-hmm. And then me who's involved in this, that, I grew up wanting to be involved in the wrestling business. And, at one point in my life, I actually thought I would start training. Mm-hmm. And that didn't work out because where I was with my professional time, I couldn't leave my job. But just to know that, I'm able to, work in the business that, I always wanted to be involved in. It's just, it humbles me, and it's something that, it always brings a smile to my face.
Working with the talent and getting phone calls from Marty Jannetty, I mean, I would take that over taking a bump personally. I don't know about you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm 36 years old, so I'm getting older by the day. But I definitely walk a lot better now than I would have had I been, doing it for 15 or 16 years. Absolutely, that goes without saying.
Yeah, I think it's a nice trade-off. So it's definitely not a bad place to be in. But you mentioned it right there, and I could totally relate to what you just said. I mean, not just with the signing, but like with something like this. I mean, you're bringing Booker T here, the Mountie. Those are two people I've wanted to meet forever, and the fact that I don't have to drive to New Jersey or New York or whatever to meet these people. Well, exactly. Yeah, with the tolls and everything else, and it's a complete pain in the ass. But wrestling fans are sometimes willing to do it. But the fact that it's in, at least, hey, speaking selfishly, in my backyard of Connecticut is perfect for me. So I'm looking forward to that.
It's great, isn't it? I've been to the big event, love the big event. I've been to so many conventions where I've had to cross the GWB and pay all kinds of tolls. But to know that, I will be staying at the hotel overnight, but to know I'm within a half hour, 35 minutes of my home, and I'm not going to have to pay any tolls, and I won't have to worry about parking. It's just such a blessing, and it's another added thing, another reason why I'm so excited for Wrestling Classic on October 24th.
It's such a dedicated fan base here in Connecticut. I think a lot of promotions and promoters and people like that kind of sleep on Connecticut because obviously Mass and New York are bigger markets and whatnot, but of all the shows I've attended here in Connecticut, there is a big turnout for almost every single. I was at a friggin' bar last week to watch I don't even know what it was called. It was like a wrestling trivia show or something.
Oh, I was there too. Tribute's Beer Company, right?
Yeah, were you there at Milford?
Yeah,
really?
I had Virgil. Yeah, Lex Luger was there. Dan House, and Chris Statlander, sure.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was amazing. I'm like, this is hilarious. That was one of the most fun shows I've ever been to, and I don't even drink, and I'm like, I have to go to this thing and go check it out. It was amazing. Man Scout versus Chris Statlander in the main event. It's so funny, but there's such a there was a large turnout. Was what I was going to get at with that point, was that there was a lot of people there for that, and they stayed for the entire show. Like, they weren't people just there for the beer. Like, they were watching the wrestling, and it was great.
And you know what? I want to give a shout out to Best Trivia Ever for promoting that show. So they do a fantastic job of organizing trivia nights, in Massachusetts, but mostly in Connecticut. They have, can't kill me right now, but 10 plus shows a week. It might even be closer to 20 at different bars. That was their first foray into a wrestling event. I think they did an amazing job. And a little plug for them and me. They'll be at the Wrestling Classic too, so they're going to have a table where they're going to tell everyone about what shows they have coming up, and they're going to put on a wrestling trivia show that afternoon too. That's included for anyone who purchases a ticket for the Wrestling Classic. So they're going to have prizes, and it's just going to be a fun day overall.
Is that right after the Wrestling Classic wraps up at 3?
So that's actually going to be during the Wrestling Classic.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be, I believe either 1:30 to 2:30 or 2 to 3. I'll release a time. But yeah, anyone that bought their tickets to the Wrestling Classic, they'll be able to participate in Best Trivia Ever. The wrestling edition, so that's really cool too.
That's awesome. I'm already. I haven't even bought my ticket yet, but I'm there for that because that sounds awesome. Because last Thursday was a blast. So the fact that they're going to be there at that show too, I'm totally sold on that. It's awesome. And you talked about working with all these talents and establishing the connections. Do you have any crazy experiences? I mean, you're getting phone calls from all these different type of people, Marty Jannetty, people like that. Any sort of crazy experiences it's like you would have to write a movie to actually believe that this is actually happening type of thing, or is it just kind of standard stuff?
Well, standard is always more ideal in this business.
Yeah,
I could tell you that, and there's there are crazy experiences, some that I can't talk about right now. But I'll say that even the crazy experiences are stories to tell at the end of the day. I'm a big person. I'm a big believer in that. Life's almost just one big story. And I wouldn't. There's been some experiences that were a little harder to go through, professionally. That maybe I could have, lived without at the time. But it's stuff I've grown from. But the hardest obstacle, honestly, in doing what I'm doing is just the airfare. And things like that that's out of my control. Flights get delayed. Flights get canceled. I had recently. Missy Hyatt I worked with in August, and the night before, they completely changed her 7 a.m. flight to a 9:30 flight. She was already in bed for the night, so I had to find a way to, kind of get that information over to her. And this past weekend, I worked with the former WWF Women's Champion, Leilani Kai, and same thing. Her flight home was delayed about 4 hours. So the airfare, in most cases, would be the reason for any difficulty because, and I get what they're coming from there. They've been losing a lot of money, so they have to make more changes than ever before. But when it comes to the talent, the talent are for 99% of the time easy to get along with, and even if they've had a bad day, they won't really take it out of me or anyone else.
Yeah, that's good. And no, I've been meeting wrestlers for a decade now. I'm a relatively newer fan. I've only been watching for the last probably 13 or 14 years. But I mean, every wrestler I've ever met I don't have a bad story, but any single one of them, it's always a great experience. And that's why stuff like this is so much fun. And you mentioned before, I mean, the cool thing about a show like this and having the stars of yesteryear and the stars of today is that, for example, my girlfriend doesn't really know a lot of the legends. Like, she'll know some people. She obviously knows, like, Bob Backlund, for example. She may not know Tatanka, for example. But she knows Danhausen. She was at that Milford show last week, and she knows Danhausen now, and she absolutely loves the guy. She cannot wait. When I told her about this show, that Danhausen was going to be at the Wrestling Classic, she pretty much bought her ticket on the spot. I mean, that's cool. You can connect the generations,
Yeah, and that's what we're looking to do. That your girlfriend she saw Danhausen last weekend and was like, when can I see him again? And just like I'm sure there's someone else she'll meet that day to where she'll YouTube a match of theirs, or just read up a little more about him. And that's kind of I feel like in a lot of ways wrestling is like music. In that, I feel like baseball and football, all that stuff is out there. But I feel like wrestling and music, sometimes you might have to look a little harder. You have to. You come to a convention and you meet someone like the Mountie for the first time, and if you're a fan under the age of 30, maybe even younger than that, you may not have heard of them. But, you see how he's dressed up. Let me tell you something, Graham, you will not be disappointed when you see the Mountie on October 24th. He's going to look like the Mountie from the 1990s. He's going to have the hat on. He's going to have the outfit on. And people will be able to get that photo up. So even if you don't know who the Mountie is, when you come to that show on October 24th and you see him in his full outfit, you're going to know that he's different. And you may go home and you may Google him, like, who was that guy in the outfit? And I think that's part of my goal with the Classic too, just to where people can learn about wrestling, because ROH is so amazing, AEW is so amazing, and I want people to be able to enjoy them now, and I want people to go back and maybe enjoy some of the wrestling from the earlier days, and vice versa. I want the older fans, they're in the 40s and 50s, to come to the show and be like, wow, Chris Hero's a really cool guy. I'm going to check out one of his matches. Danhausen, whoa, he looks different. Let me check out some of his stuff. Yeah. So that's my goal, just, kind of merging, the different generations of wrestling and kind of having a little bit something for everything under one roof.
Oh, that's what makes me so happy as a fan, as someone who wasn't, per se watching when the Mountie was around 20, 30 years ago, but being a fan of his work and whatnot. So I have someone like my girlfriend who's not overly familiar with the Mountie, like you said, meeting him, I'm sure, makes her a fan immediately. But then I have someone like my dad, for example, who grew up watching the Bob Backlunds, for example. He would love to go meet Bob Backlund. He's never met Bob Backlund before. And then he goes and then he sees a Danhausen and he's a fan of him. So it's exactly what you said. I can't relate to that more.
Yeah, and you just summed it up with specific examples, and that's what I want October 24th to be. Just a big melting pot of wrestling fans from all eras, coming to one place, Doubletree Hartford, and just, having a great afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Doubletree Hartford is Sunday, October 24th, 10 a.m., 3 p.m. A lot of events going on. Around that time, the show later on in the day at Enfield, like you mentioned, Nick. Windsor Locks, Connecticut specifically. It's going to be an awesome time. You mentioned the Just Incredible bonus when people get their tickets for $15, you said, right? What was the deal again?
$15 is the general admission. You get a Just Incredible autograph for $25, and there's less than 5 of those left.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, by the time that we run this, it's probably going to be gone by that point, but people can still buy tickets. The WrestlingClassicCT.com is the place to go, right?
It sure is, Graham. And, we've moved a lot of tickets. And tickets, I want to say October 21st is your last day to get the online deals for the Classic, but we will have tickets available at the door for people that, because we know what happens. People make plans, and there's some people that just like to kind of see what the weekend takes them. So we're going to have we do suggest everyone to buy the tickets early because they'll get early admission, but tickets will be available at the door as well.
Perfect. Well, I'll definitely be buying my tickets in advance. I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to a wrestling convention of this nature in this state for a very long time, and we're finally getting it courtesy of you, Nick, and the entire team. It's awesome. I appreciate you guys for that, and appreciate you for taking the time today, man. This has been awesome.
Oh, it's been an honor on my end. I've had a great time too, Graham, and I can't wait to see October 24th at the Wrestling Classic.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you then as well. Thanks for taking the time.
Of course, anything.